Hey, welcome to the show, Hugh.
Well, thanks for having me on, Brian. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Well, this wouldn't be Business with Beers if I didn't ask you that we are at a bar having a drink. What are we drinking?
Well, we'd probably be at my house,
Okay.
and we'd be drinking one of the 20 or 30 beers that I have on tap. That I
Okay.
brew myself. But
You
out
brew
of that,
yourself?
I brew myself. Yep.
Okay. What's your favorite? Or what are you drinking now?
I love IPAs.
Okay.
Usually like a hazy or a tropic IPA. So
Okay.
I have one of those with me here today.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So if you could share your story, who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I guess my name is Hugh Carnahan, and my story is that I went from a W-2 to a millionaire in 15 months. I did so using the vehicle of real estate. I had no prior real estate experience. I was going to take the money and buy solar panels. 15 months later, I ended up doing stuff like taking commercial properties that were at a 2.6 cap and turning them into an 11 cap in, a 4-month time period. And that started getting the notice of people. And I did that all with a secret weapon that I have, and it's called Second Lien.
So you buy them at 11 cap and then resell them at a 2?
No, I'll buy them at a 2 cap for low.
Okay.
And then I'll increase the profitability, and then I'll burr it back out from a bank.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so you mentioned 2 lien. So what is that?
So 2 lien is a secret weapon, and it's for business owners. And it turns every single member of your organization into a profit-making machine. And it's one that nobody is talking about. And so that's it. Basically, it focuses on empowering your people to solve their own problems. And a byproduct of all of that is profit.
Okay. All right. And then, so share maybe some of your story of how did you do that? Can you give us an example of maybe one of these properties that you bought that you implemented this plan and how it worked out?
So one of the ones was the very first time I have all my background was all my experience, which started in 2019 when I bought my first residential property.
Okay.
I did a bunch of repetitions and got decent at basically the burr process, which is flip and hold is an easy way to explain it for people. And when I actually finished, or I started looking at commercial properties, because it's almost as much work to do a large commercial property as it is to do maybe 2 small residential properties. And so one of the first things I bought was a motel, gas station, and commercial building. And the owner was an older gentleman, and he had owned it since the 80s. So he was basically selling it for the value of the land under it. So we ended up buying it for $2.6 million, and he had discounted the fact that there's any businesses on top of it, or any structures on top of it, because the assumption was we're going to scrape it and build, a Target or something like that.
And he operated it. He operated the gas station, the motel, and he rented out the commercial property.
He was just a landlord.
Okay, just a landlord. Okay.
He owned the motel, which someone else ran, the hotel, which someone else ran, the commercial structure, which someone else ran, and then the gas station, he just owned the building and a gas station operator. And so I bought that, and it's very, very similar to a lot of your other guests who have come and talked. You buy it from an older person who's aging out, or from the kids who maybe someone passed away. They don't want to deal with this asset. They don't know anything about it. And then you buy it for the value that it sits based on the cash flow, because commercial real estate's very cash flow. How much the value is worth is very cash flow dependent.
Yep.
So you buy it for a lower cash flow, and then you run and operate it properly, which my background was in operations from a 2 lien manufacturing company. And I just ran it properly. And then within 4 months, basically took it from $2.7 million, which is what the property was bought at. And its value was then $5 million afterwards. And I was able to recoup all of that money, still own the property outright, or not outright, but still own the property, have cash flowing real estate. And now we've got $3.8 million in the pocket to go do it again.
So did you start operating those businesses, or was it a matter of increasing the rents? How did you increase the cash flow?
Right. So it was twofold. One was the rents. That was the easy one. I know the gas station hadn't had rents raised since 1988.
Okay.
on the original lease.
Yeah.
And so we tried to raise them a little bit, and they threw a fit. And so we started raising the rents a little bit, but really it was the motel aspect.
Okay.
Never run a motel before, don't know anything about the hospitality service, but it doesn't matter because with Second Lien, I was able to walk into it. And what a company, any company, your company, my companies, what we think we're spending all our time doing has nothing to do with what our value add is to our customer. So I walked in and was able to kind of systematically break down the processes and then train the teams that were already on site to basically think like a business owner and have full buy-in and all that good stuff and build a culture of continuous improvement. And the byproduct of that was creating an $8,000 spread of NOI per month.
All through increasing the profitability of the motel, hotel, whatever it was.
Right. So we burned the candles at both ends a little bit. One, we increased revenue, but more importantly, we ran it more efficiently, so we decreased expenses. And what that does on a commercial asset is it makes your profit go crazy because you're based off of the profitability that you bought the property at. And whatever this, if you save $1, it's divided against the cap rate. And then it makes, if you have a 9 cap, for instance, I think $1 would be like $270 worth of value or something like that. So that spread that we created was $8,000 a month. And then we were able to do that within 4 months.
Yep. It should increase the property value.
I had a full-time W-2 as well.
Okay. So you did that one, you learned how to go take what you knew from the manufacturing company, applied it to this operating business, this hotel. And then what'd you go from there? What was next?
So from there, that is a interesting thing is when you do that and then you start sharing and spreading and teaching other people. One of my big things is maybe networker is not a great word. I don't know, but I like bringing value to others.
Okay.
And
you
so
can connect people, right?
Connect people. Right. So I would just talk to anyone I possibly can about how to help them out with their business. And so I was just providing value. And that's actually how I ended up buying real estate in the first place. I was trying to provide value to the solar panel guy. And he's like, don't buy my solar panels. You should buy real estate and check out this company called Bigger Pockets and then use that to pay for your electricity. But I started sharing kind of what I had done and trying to help others. And I had someone who had an off-market deal that contained a hotel, a motel, and 2 apartment complexes. And apparently I was now the motel guy or the hotel guy because I had done it once and it had crazy results. But so I really thought about it and I was like, okay, that's when I decided to get into the hotel business as well by accident. So it was really passing the value to other folks. But
so you bought that deal?
So I became a 1/3 investor in that deal. And I was brought on because of my experience and my hustle and knowledge. And so me trying to educate other people is kind of what brought, I guess, good deals and good people to me because I wasn't looking for that. And so I run the operations with Lean. And in the manufacturing space, manufacturing is extremely cutthroat and everyone's competing against everybody and everyone's competing with China. And if you don't have the best operations in the world, the best systems and processes, you'll go out of business, really, really quickly. So the Lean methodology, it has people look at it and they're like, oh, I'm not manufacturing, that's not for me. No, these are the most well-run operations on the earth because it's so cutthroat and so competitive, you will go out of business instantly unless you can adapt. So I took those lessons and moved into real estate, which I don't want to say it's sloppy, but you can bumble your way through a lot of stuff and come out with profits, which is basically exactly what I did. Is I didn't have any experience and was able to just kind of leverage experience from my core 4 and go from there.
So is that your full-time focus now? Is the real estate, these BRRRR deals? Is it hotels? Is your expertise? Is it, what's today look like now?
So I have 3 companies, and one of them is a real estate investment company. And basically we BRRRR for my own properties, but we also BRRRR for other investors, for family members and we're doing partnerships. Then I have, it's an own LLC. It's not a consulting company, but I will go consult if businesses ask me to, and basically set that culture mechanism. And then the last one is I have a YouTube presence and following, and that is very, I try to teach the concepts of lean through things like gardening and coffee pots and coffee makers, because so many more people can relate to that, but it's directly applicable to saving millions and millions of dollars.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thanks for catching us up. So let's talk a bit more into lean and what does that mean? How does it work? How does someone get started? Like, let's kind of dive into that. So you mentioned first, it's about creating a culture where you're getting the employees to kind of look for areas of improvement, right? That kind of self buy-in of a sort. That was the initial kind of teaser, but let's get into it a little bit more. So what is it? How does it work?
So lean is about growing and developing people, period. And what most of us who are familiar with lean, they may have heard of Six Sigma or, I'm a green belt at this or black belt at that. And that is like a bastardization or Americanized or Westernized variant of lean that I don't really buy much into. It focuses too much on the actual specific mechanism, but the original origins of lean, as far as Japanese are concerned, and really the Americans that taught it to the Japanese back in the 40s, it was about empowering and developing your people. But in the 80s and 90s, it became about cutting costs and if we can get more productivity out of people, then we can do that. But lean and leadership is the culture thing is extremely important. So when you come in, you set a culture in place, and then that starts the mechanism. So have you ever heard of, not Millionaire, Miracle Morning? There we go.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Practiced her for the most part. So
most people in Miracle Morning, they're kind of about going through and doing a routine every morning that results in a lot of successful things. The way 2 Second Lien works is you kind of have a very similar process where you have a routine every morning at every one of your companies that everyone's involved with, from you as the business owner all the way down to the guy who sweeps the floor at night. And that routine happens to be a habit that builds a culture of critical thinking and continuous improvement. And so where I would start with it is, if you haven't read the book, go and read the book 2 Second Lien by Paul Akers, and then start practicing in your own life around there.
Okay. So you're saying it's this kind of like the Miracle Morning, it's this schedule that you follow, but it's at your company that you're doing it. Can you give us an overview or an example of some companies you worked for? What does that schedule look like? What's that
1,000%.
agenda? Yep.
So I'm going to give the secret. Here's the secret sauce. And 98% of people will hear the secret and they're not going to do anything about it, or they're going to do it and they're going to overthink it. The secret is doing something called 3S time for 30 minutes in the morning. And then we have an hour of morning meeting. And then we have a 5-minute recap with the leadership meeting. And that happens every single day. The 3S time is called sweep, sort, and standardize. And during that time, no one in the companies are allowed to work. The only thing they're allowed to do is make improvements that make their own job easier. So that's 3S time. Then you have an hour of morning meeting, and morning meeting is, you're not allowed to talk anything work related again. It's about developing, training and developing critical thinking skills with your teams and employees. And then we have a 5-minute recap with each of the site leads, because we're a multi-site company. We have people all over the place. So that's really hard to manage if you're in charge of a company. And so that mechanism happens every day that the company is open. And it basically has information go from the top down and from the bottom up super quickly. And there is, we call it the short feedback loop. There is no ability to, if something goes wrong, you know about it almost immediately, and you can adapt and address problems. Or here's the thing that most business owners don't talk about. If something goes right, you have the opportunity to train everyone in your organization to do that with ease. And yeah.
So 3S, sweep, sort, standardize, plus an hour meeting, plus a 5-minute recap. So you're talking almost an hour and a half, right? 5 days a week or 6 days a week, whatever, or every day. So for most companies, they're going to say, I don't have time for that. Like,
absolutely.
Right?
That's the first thing they'll say.
Yep. That's what I say.
And if you think that your employees are working for 8 hours a day, then you're grossly joking and you're kidding yourself. At maximum, most companies get about 3 hours of good work out of people. And if you are involved in these 2 second lien companies, which I've been a part of several, most companies end up having 5 to 6 hours of excellent work. The reason why is very simple. When you ask for people's ideas, first off, we have one job title. And our job title is process engineer. People are paid to think. A byproduct of their job, the real job, which is to think, is the floors get swept, or the oil gets changed, or whatever that may be. So when you have people thinking about making their own life better, that's where you really start to snowball. And one of the things that happens usually is, especially with probably people in GoBundance and these groups like this, we were the baker that then ran a bakery, right? We did the floor sweeping job all the way up, but then as we scaled, we hired more and more people, and it became more and more complex. And then we kind of expect them to bring on kind of an ownership style mentality, but they didn't do the repetitions that we did. So this 2 second lien culture in the morning routine really is a mechanism that step by step builds that culture, right? I think 2 or 3 episodes back on your podcast, you had someone that talked about selecting for the right culture coming into their company.
Yep.
This is talking about taking who you have and selecting for the right people, and then developing them to all be little business owners, because their job, if I change oil every day, okay, that's my job. No, your job isn't to do that. Your job is to be a process engineer. Your job is to think about how to make changing oil easier, not just for you, but for the next guy forever. A byproduct of that is the oil gets changed. And when you get that kind of ownership, it is an absolute incredible feeling for people who are engaged in, like, it's very odd, no joke. People will show up and you're not wasting their employee genius, right? Every one of us has greatness unlocked inside of us. And us on this journey, someone who's listening to this podcast, probably we woke up at some point, we're like, man, there's more for my life. And they got involved with chasing this stuff, or they got involved with GoBundance. Well, we basically turn our company into that culture, that environment that basically grows and develops everyone's genius. And we're seeking to grow their greatness out of them, which even the most boring person ever has that greatness inside of them. And you make it about making their own jobs easier and life easier.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree that every single one of us can achieve a lot more than what we're being asked. And a lot of times it's being exposed to new ideas. It's through education. It's through development. So if a company has trouble, like even for us, like, we have an auto repair shops, right? We open up at 7:30 at most of them. And, it's like a retail business. So people are like coming in. It's not like a manufacturing where, no one's coming in. So how do we fit in that? Can we just compress the items? So it's a half-hour deal instead of, an hour and a half. What would be your advice?
The advice would be the following. So if you copy what we do exactly, you're going to fail. So it'll be different for every single company.
Okay. But
what we did was, we're retail as well, right? We're operating hotels and motels. And my experience was in manufacturing, but now I'm in basically outward facing retail and customer service space. So what we did is we basically set our starting hours at a certain time frame. And then we go back an hour and a half, and that's the beginning of our workday. So if you guys open at 7:30, then your workday would start at 6. Now, that gets hairy for people coming in, and then there's multi-shift problems if you have, people coming in for a second shift or graveyard shift. But you can basically compress some of the things, but the real learning occurs when you teach. And so it's really the way the mechanism works every morning is the more time you can spend training, the more everyone gets out of it and can bring to them during that workday of what they can actually accomplish and get done.
And then what gets trained? Who trains it? How do you make sure the trainer's trained?
That's a fantastic problem, or a fantastic question, and it's the problem that most business owners face.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to be in shape.
Okay.
We're going to go and we're going to train and we're going to go work out, right? Or we know that we should. So the successful people that want to be in shape who really need it, they're going to do it. Same thing with a business owner who says, I'm going to train my team. The mechanism itself trains. So you have a template, but really the people who actually train the morning meeting are the employees themselves. So every day we just go alphabetically. It's easy. There's no arguing. And this day, Bill will train, and then it'll be Jim, and then it'll be Sally, and then it'll be Sarah. And you just kind of go through alphabetically, and there's a template, and they follow the template. And the training is about lean. They're not allowed to talk about work. They're only allowed to train about critical thinking and these high-level concepts from lean.
Okay.
And the template does that. My job as the owner is to foster their training and make sure that the values that we set forth, the template, is going down the right path. But that's kind of where we get into, I don't know if you've read Who Not How, or a lot of your audience probably has, or the Miracle Morning, or not the Miracle Morning, the 4-Hour Work Week. It's about getting responsibility off of you as the owner and onto other people. Well, that's the main reason we hire people. But how many of us spend large portions of our day training?
Not enough, right? We set the vision and, maybe hear it from us a couple times a year, but to really truly understand it, believe in it, and have what drives them as much as it drives me. For sure. That's definitely an area I think we all could improve on. At least
right. Absolutely. And then another thing, you have your business, you have your personal coaching, your business coaching training.
Yep.
You're very, very knowledgeable at the strategies, probably because you teach it all the time.
That's true. Yep.
When you teach something, do you know what the percentage of retention is?
A lot more. Yeah. If you can teach it, right, you can retain it a lot more.
It's about 90% retention.
Well, okay. Yep.
Or higher. If you're engaged, right, people are like, I have to see it, I have to do it. That at best is 30% retention. Now, if you lead with a question, that gets you into that 30% bucket. If you're lecturing, then at best, without going through a cultural or language barrier, it's 10%. So when we do training every morning, the real person being trained is the person who's providing the training.
Yeah.
Now,
so let me just stop you there. So from the bottom up, if you lecture something, the audience is going to retain 10%. So I give at best. Okay. So I lecture.
The abundance person might get like 12 or 13%.
There you go. So I lecture my team on why we want to sell tires, right? Or whatever it is, right? So 10% of they're going to retain that. If they're engaged, I'm posing questions that they're answering back, 30% of the room or of the content, however it's measured, right?
At max.
Yeah. But if I tell an individual, here, I want you to get up on this whiteboard and educate the rest of the room on what we just did, right? And they have to kind of teach it, then 90%, right?
1,000%. That's exactly right. And so you say, hey guys, Bill's going to tell us why we're selling tires today. And then Bill's going to be like, and then he's going to teach it, but he'll never forget.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Like, nugget. And so that's why I guess through these huddles, so then did the individual then pick what they're going to teach that day? You said follow a form. I don't know what it looks like, but is it something that this is what I've done this week and this is how I do it? Like, can you give an example maybe of what one of your hotel ones that
two things. One, I can just say, Brian, you and members of your audience are more than welcome. If you can reach out, we'll schedule a time. You can join one of our morning meetings so you can see it firsthand.
Okay.
But basically we have a template. The template doesn't change. The template, it cycles through on its own every day. So every day it just kind of, let's say it's alphabetically, we go over, today we're going to teach A and then B and then C and then D. And it just goes on to the next day. Eventually everyone will come up and they'll train, but every time they cycle up to train, they'll be training a different topic.
Okay.
The second one is the way they train is they have to produce a video. and this is going to blow your mind. I've got mostly uneducated folks or folks that never had a formal education. Right? I'm just a blue collar guy. I'm a hick from Missouri. And our guys are creating a PowerPoint, some of which have never used computers, shooting horizontal video on cell phones, editing the cell phone, editing the footage, uploading the footage to YouTube, putting it into the PowerPoint, and then the next day giving a presentation.
Daily? They do this daily?
Daily.
Oh my God.
And now,
I'm blown away by this. Yeah, okay.
This is going to be shocking to you, Brian.
Yep.
Ready? I don't babysit the process at all.
Really?
I taught it once at the very beginning, and I made it very clear that the next person who trains is going to be training the next person the next day. And the next person who trains is going to be training the next team morning meeting person the next day. And what you do is you give the template is just a guideline for what you want to do, but each employee is now going out of their way to take ownership and attempt to articulate. It doesn't matter if, here's the thing, it doesn't matter if they even are good at the presentation they give. What matters is they attempted to do it, so that employee that trained gets 90% retention.
Yep. So is it the same number of things that they're training on, the same 10 items or whatever, that's just getting on repeat? Or is it every, like is, I don't know, let's say it's tires.
60 items.
Okay, so but it's the same. They're not just picking something random. They're following this thing that said, this is how we, I don't know, make this widget or make this thing or organize this or clean this, whatever it is, right? So through the cycle, at the end of the year, each employee will have taught hopefully, one of the items, each item once, right? But could he teach it multiple times?
Absolutely. It happens often. So I've got about 15 or 20 people under me with my personal companies here. But another thing they do is they share the improvements they make. Okay. And so it's not just about them training. It's also about sharing the idea that they came up with. Well, if you have multiple facilities and someone comes up with an office or a printer improvement over here, it could be directly relatable to other improvements. So now you have multi-sites and multiple employees engaged in exchanging ideas. And then they also focus greatly on gratitude and giving credit to others who have helped them. Within the training as well, they share their improvements. They do train a set template, but they also have an opportunity called continuing education. And continuing education is where they get to pick whatever they want to train. Some people train about health, some people train about eating, some people train about lean, some people train about, we had one of our grounds wardens trained about how they make basically really simple and quick ways to do landscaping for like very cheap, but highly effective and it looks nice. And some of our best employees, some of our best ideas come from brand new employees who have never, it's new guy theory. Yeah, because they're bringing in ideas from other companies and exactly.
So I know we're getting close to the end here. I have a couple more questions. So the biggest one for me is anytime we're trying to roll out something new, we have all these sites, all these employees, and it's difficult to get everybody kind of on that same page. So how do you go about then getting the engagement? Do you start with one or two and hopefully it kind of gets some fire from that? Or is it, everyone at once and you're just kind of going all in? How does a company like this sounds great, sounds awesome actually, but like it's this overwhelming task of how do I get all these people on board about coming in even a half hour early, even if we're paying them, it's like, this big deal. So what's your recommendation? How do you at least get started with this kind of thing?
Great. So the first thing is read the book, Second Lien, set the foundation, and then you just kind of start. And it's going to be horrible for like 3 months while you're starting. It's going to be one of the worst things that you'll ever do. And people will be like, Brian, this is the dumbest thing. Bill quit. Jim's thinking about quitting. This is a waste of our time. And so that's be prepared for that. And the reason why is because we suck, because we're just starting something new, right? At the very beginning of my life, I was like the world's worst walker. Couldn't walk. And then now I can walk okay. Sometimes I can walk in my car. But so you just kind of practice and practice and practice. But you get everyone on the same page and you keep bringing everyone to the same page. So if you want a vision to stick, what do?
You repeat it all the time. You print it.
You cast it over and over and over, right? So you want the vision to stick, you do that. And then how many people do you devote your time to every day?
I don't know, 5, maybe 4,
Oh,
you know?
so every day, if you can break it down into a hierarchy structure of having 3 to 5 people at most who you train and develop,
Yep.
those people have 3 to 5 people beneath them who they train and develop. Now, how many people do you have collectively? You said you have a few hundred people that work for you?
125, something in that range. Yeah.
Is it more difficult for you to help and develop and grow 5 people, or is it more work to develop and grow 120 people?
Yeah, that's 5. It's 3. The less, the better.
The less, the better.
Yeah.
So you really focus on them, and it's a lot more complicated, but it's very simple, but it's difficult to do. If you spend your time developing those people and you set the standards and you really develop those people, but the expectation of you developing them is that they develop their 3 to 5 people beneath them, all you have to do is spot check the people underneath them and their knowledge or their value structure. Or does Jim know why we're selling tires? Hey, Jim doesn't know why we're selling tires.
Yep.
You go to the person above him and you say, it's not Jim's fault that he doesn't know. You know, spot check, is there something with extreme ownership, right? Did we not teach something? Is there something broken about the process? 85, and this is something good to internalize, 85% of the time, it's always the process. It's almost never the person.
Yep.
What did we do wrong?
Yep.
And where did the process break? Even if someone is the problem. So starting at a high level, getting everyone engaged, casting the vision over and over, but then really focusing in on developing a few people.
Okay.
Then there's that.
And then your claim or what you've seen is that by getting everybody engaged, by getting this feedback, by the education, that's how they then start to have kind of ownership in the success of the business. And, because that's as business owners, right? We want employees to think like we do. Do they see those parts on the ground? That's just money sitting there and it sits there for weeks. And I walk in, I get them all returned in a day.
Right.
But you're saying it's this process, it's this ritual, which then starts ingraining this,
Just like anyone who believes in miracle morning, this is an organizational level miracle morning. And it's what tools you're giving your employees to return stuff. Maybe you can get it done in a day, but they didn't have the access to the Amazon card, or there was no system or process in place. That was number one. And number two is, yes, that is absolutely results. And it sucks to get to, just like it sucks working out. But if you want to be healthy, you do it. If a lot of your business owners or entrepreneurs, a lot of us, if we step away from our business, it either goes to lukewarm or worse, we're just terrified of stepping away from business.
Yep.
And so if you can't right now say, I can step away from my business for a month and it still be there when you come back, then you're probably doing something wrong. You've just missed a whole section of it. You're a good worker, but as a business owner, your goal is to replace you. It's probably one of the reasons you started the business is for financial freedom and independence.
Yep.
If you do it right, I have no doubt with my 3 businesses, I could step away from all 3 of them for a month, come back, and not only will the businesses still be there, but they'll have improved along the way while I was gone without me having to babysit or hold hands. And that's really the kind of where we wish we could go.
That's great. That's what we're all working towards. So fantastic. So what's next for you? What's the next 3 years look like? Where are you taking your life and your business?
3 years, that's a long time away.
1 year. 1 year.
1 year. 1 year away, I'd really like to kind of get more well-known on YouTube so I can start training and developing business owners and business leaders how to basically get the fulfillment out of their jobs and empower hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people who can really apply these things directly to their life. I mean, I took the lean lessons, applied them to my life and went forward. So people helped me out along the way to get to where I am today. No man is an island. And I want to help whoever, and pay that forward because of all the amazing help that came there. And I want to leverage Second Lien to teach as many people as possible how to run their own businesses, and to kind of similar to Mike Mikowicz, who wrote Profit First. Yep. His passion is getting people out of entrepreneurial poverty. And my passion is to get business owners out of entrepreneurial time enslavement, right?
Okay.
We all started so we could run our business. But so much of us, I felt it. Our business runs us, and we're kind of burned into the ground.
Kind of buy yourself a job.
Yeah, we bought ourselves a job, and then we're working 80 hours or 100 hours a week, and no one cares as much as we do.
Yep, that's great. Well, what's your YouTube channel? And we'll link it up too.
It's called, if you just go on YouTube, type in Hugh Carnahan.
Okay.
It'll say Hugh Carnahan, Weaponize Your Mind.
Okay.
And it basically teaches lessons in all kinds of ways. It's finance and real estate heavy, but it's also gardening and stuff around the house. But all of it's directly applicable to.
Okay. Get you in that mindset of starting to looking for ideas. And yeah, I watched a number of your videos, and they were good. The 12-year-old kid and some of your construction inefficiencies. So that's cool. Any books you're reading now that you'd recommend?
Yes, I've plugged it twice now. But if you have not read Second Lien, we hear all kinds of great ones. But Second Lien is free. It's on YouTube. If you could go to Paul Akers' website, you can download it. I stumbled upon it, and I am a millionaire today. Not only that, it layers on top of any and all training and knowledge that you already have. It's like if you had a Phillips head screwdriver and your expertise was building houses. All right, you were using a Phillips head screwdriver and screw to do it. And then I show you what an impact driver is. Okay, yep. Didn't teach you anything different. You had the knowledge to do it, but one's a lot easier and simpler. But it literally layers on top of all the things that you've already are doing well in life. And it teaches you how to see and spot things that are kind of maybe blind spots that we don't realize that we have. Yep. Yeah, it's a great book. I read it a number of weeks ago. It takes like a day or two. It's a pretty short read, and it's entertaining. And I got a lot about it. It made me start to really think about a number of our processes and where we're inefficient. And obviously these daily huddles and getting everybody involved is the key. So right. Fantastic. So where can listeners connect? We got your YouTube channel. Where else? Is that the best place to get in contact with you? So we have that, and then we have hillbillyleniac@gmail.com. Okay. And I'll send that to you so you guys can. Yeah, we'll post it up. Post it. But there's that, and then I have Leniac 12 on Instagram. Oh, hold on. We have Leniac 12 on Instagram, and then I have Greater Ozarks Realty as my real estate focus. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing all your knowledge about Second Lien. I think, you really got people, engaged and thinking about this. And, I think I'm going to take you up on your invite to kind of drop in on one of your meetings, I guess, virtually to see kind of what it looks like. And if anybody else is interested, they can just email you. Is that the best way? Yeah, that definitely works. And one thing too, I just want to say to all your listeners that made it this far in the podcast so far, smart people refuse to believe how simple it can be. And notice I said it was simple and not easy. Yep. So it's one of my great successes is because it's so simple. I did not overthink it. I didn't get caught up in analysis paralysis. I just tried it, and when it failed, I course corrected, and so on and so forth. And so if you guys have listened, just give it a shot, listen to it. If you take something from it, it's better than nothing. Yep, 100%. Well, thanks again, and look forward to connecting with you again. Thanks, Brian. All right, see you.